Hey guys, thanks for stopping on by and checking out the channel. Today I wanted to take a minute and talk to you about David Kilcullen's theory of competitive control and some of the similarities or some of the things that I'm seeing happening within our culture within the United States compared to some of the points that he highlights in his theory of competitive control. Some of the things that I want to highlight is ways that I see the US government may be opening the door to create a power void within the domestic United States itself, right? There's a blog posted about it, it's written out. So I'll try to go through some different points here in the video, and I invite you to jump on over to the website and check out the blog as well for some other additional points. All right, guys, I'll put the link in the description below. All right, let's get started. So, Out of the Mountains, David Kilcullen, and the book is called Out of the Mountains, The Coming Age of the Urban Guerrilla. Basically, what he did was he went through and did a bunch of case studies over cities themselves and thought of cities as living organisms and how the instances or the actions that took place within those cities, how they can be thought of on a different scale, thinking of the city itself as a biological organism. Another chapter in the book talks about the theory of competitive control, and that is what I want to talk about. In the theory of competitive control, David Kilcullen explains that there are three major areas that need to be harnessed to control a populace by either a state government or a non-state actor. And so we'll go through those 3 points. All right, so in the theory of competitive control, the 3 points that a state or non-state actor needs to control or needs to put emphasis on to control a population is persuasive, administrative, or coercive. And all 3 of those can be worked together or they can be worked individually. Most non-state actors or groups who vie for control of the population do so under the coercion sector first, meaning, hey, do what I want you to do or I'm going to kill you. Well, it's crazy. The United States has a monopoly on violence. So the coercion side, they already have a lock on. There's not much viability or not much ability for a non-state actor to go down the route of coercion on a larger scale than on the local small community level. Administrative would be access to schools, hospitals, things that we need as a society or as an individual to survive, including our community. Access to that community and the ability to have a community. And our last is persuasive, the ability to follow the rules and not have to worry about the consequences because you did what you knew was expected of you, persuasive. So now that we've identified those 3 persuasive, administrative, and coercive measures that are needed to be taken by a state or non-state actor to control the populace, let's dive down into what we really want to talk about today in this video. How the United States is potentially leaving itself open for a power void that will eventually be filled by non-state actors, or could eventually be filled by non-state actors. So as restrictions continue to be placed on local people, what we're finding is that the persuasion side of the control of the state is quickly being lost. The state has now mandated with COVID-19 and the coronavirus, no bars, restaurants, or physical fitness centers, gyms, can be open to the public. Restaurants have kind of taken this and tagged it along the lines of saying, well, we're not open to the public, you can't come here and eat, but you can still come here and pick your food up and take it out, or we can deliver it. We're seeing a lot more deliveries at this point in time. So the government itself is removing the ability for people to be individuals or do the things that they want to or need to do to survive, i.e. going to get to job or going and working your job so that you can bring in an income and pay for your lifestyle. Next is the administrative. We have all heard about the voluntary quarantines, this new term social distancing, maintaining 6 foot in between you and the next person. And these are all things that on the administrative side are good precautionary measures. However, as this pandemic and the hype around it starts to or continues to grow, what's going to happen is you're finding more and more hospitals that are changing the way they're operating. You're having people being told stay home, utilize teleconference or the internet to communicate with your primary care physician, and stay out of areas that are highly populated. This is all well and good, but what happens is if you're telling people of all demographics across the United States, hey, we want you to stay home and we don't want you to go anywhere, especially to the hospital or places where you can congregate with other people unless you're feeling sick. If you're feeling sick, we don't actually want you to come down though. We want you to jump online with your webcam and tell us how you're feeling, and we'll assess you there to figure out if you need to be self-quarantined or whatnot. Oh, that's perfect, right? But all these hospitals, especially in the metro areas and where areas are highly populated, are quickly going to get bogged down. We're already starting to see this with the makeshift testing lines, with Nashville Level 1 Trauma Center is currently in the process of updating their 5-story parking garage. They're putting walls, heating, and plumbing in it, and they're going to make that a standalone isolation unit for COVID-19 positive testing patients. Things like that are going to start causing a drain on the system in which Americans have become accustomed to having access to. That's the administrative side. And the persuasive side, you can't go anywhere. Well, now you're having trouble accessing your doctor. That's the administrative side. The last little opening that the United States still has is they still have the monopoly on violence through law enforcement and the military. Law enforcement domestically. What's happening is I've talked to a couple of police officers from across the country, New Jersey, Colorado, Washington, and it's pretty consistent across the board. Police are also fearful, as well as the general public, of what to expect. And Jefferson County specifically, the sheriff has told his officers, we are not going to make you detain someone and put them back in containment or quarantine. That's not, we're not going to ask that of you, because at this time, quarantine is voluntary. We're not also going to ask you to go and remove firearms or weapons from houses. That's beyond what we're going to ask as of right now. And if that order is passed along, I myself, not me, but the sheriff of Jefferson County said the mandate will come directly from him. Perfect. So you've got the sheriff who is trying to protect his police, and you've got the officers themselves who are trying to protect themselves and the general public as much as they can. However, as this progresses through and the hype gets worse, you have officers who have already stated openly, I'm not going to go take somebody's weapons away. I'm not going to interact with someone and put them back in quarantine. What that does is that increases the officer's exposure limits, or not limits, but exposure. The more times they have to interact with a possible contaminated person, the more likely they are to spread that contamination to their family, their unit, and their crew. So you're going to start having more and more burnout on police, which is going to make them less effective. The sheriff himself has already said, I don't want you to put somebody back in quarantine if they choose to leave. So you've got this weird instance happening where the sheriff's saying, hey, you're supposed to do this, but we're not going to make you do this. And you've got officers who are, hey, you're supposed to do this, but I'm not going to make you do this. So you've got this breakdown of the monopoly on violence. Although the state still has the monopoly, their inability to effectively push the coercion side of the three parts of the theory of competitive control is that third crucible that's going to allow that power shift to happen. You've already got persuasion. People can't go to work. They can't make money. They're still having bills collect that they are unable to pay because the government has said, hey, you can't go to work. You're losing the administrative side. Children. Kansas City this morning, or Kansas, the state, canceled all school for the remainder of the 2019-2020 school year. All of the students, K through 12 or pre-K through 12, are moving to online-based learning or distance learning. Okay. Colorado hasn't gone that far yet. Colorado has released children and do not expect them back until April 10th. However, we expect that to be pushed through to the end of the 2019-2020 school year here in Colorado as well. And then you've got the coercive side. Government saying, hey, you need to do this, but the police are saying, hey, you need to do this, but I'm not going to enforce it. So you have this complete breakdown of the theory of competitive control, or what the items that are needed, the tasks, the sections, the principles that are needed to effectively control the population. Kilcullen uses a great example when he starts talking about, or a great case study, talking about these three aspects. He uses Hezbollah. Hezbollah's strength derives from its ability to create a full spectrum normative system that dissuades people from opposing its agenda, gives them tangible administrative and economic benefits in return for support, and persuades them to participate in its programs. It's straight out of the book, Out of the Mountains. Great book. I can't say enough about it. Well, a full spectrum normative system is something that covers each of the persuasive, administrative, and coercive requirements. Hezbollah, the reason they were able to stick around after the July 2006 war was because they were militaristically annihilated. But they had so many administrative pieces in place. They had schools in place for the communities that they were in. They had hospitals they ran. They ran all sorts of social networks and social welfare networks that the populace actually turned, and the way that it was framed to the populace in those communities, they were actually angry at the Israelis for the attack rather than Hezbollah, who was the ultimate target of the attack. So even though they were militaristically annihilated, they still were able to maintain the support of the community because of that administrative work that they had put in beforehand. Coercion is really, really hard to maintain control over a population with if that's your only avenue, because at some point people are no longer fearful of their own lives and they will take the non-state actor or the state actor's life to protect their own. So it's really, really weird. We're more than likely, in my opinion, going to find ourselves in an extremely violent situation. Not meaning it'll be widespread violence everywhere in the United States will be an anarchy. However, there will be pockets of isolated violence, almost to the point where you may see communities that are then taken over by local gangs on the subdivision or neighborhood level in other areas that are not populated highly. So Grand Junction, Colorado, which is where I'm at, is a great example. I would figure that there are 4 or 5 communities within the valley itself that, as this hysteria continues through the masses, will start losing law enforcement. Law enforcement will stop going to those areas, and those areas will start to be controlled by the local populace who lives there. And that's that's something that we're going to have to deal with on the backside of this. Once all of this is over, recuperate whatever it is that happened and go take back what it was that was lost in the beginning. All right? So, like I said, David Kilcullen, great author, great book, The Theory of Competitive Control. I can't say enough about it. I've read through it multiple times. I even lost one of my pictures today. Damn it. Gotta fix that guy. And then we also have Baselines of Behavior, the art of nonverbal communication. That guy is for sale on Amazon. You can also download a free copy of your ebook. Just go to the webpage, www.primarysc.com. Grab your copy. It'll be emailed over. Just click the link and it'll download. And yeah, I'll put descriptions for the Facebook page, the LinkedIn page, the blog in the description of the video as well. And then this video will be linked to the blog. So I appreciate you guys' time. Thank you for checking it out. And I hope that if you have any questions, please feel free to send them over. All right, guys, like and subscribe if you don't mind. Looks good on my side. I appreciate it, guys. Have a good day.